All right, so I know Pokemon Presents are never really that good, to be honest. I watch them every time. I always in the stream thinking, okay, well, I guess there were a couple of cool things there. But usually it's mostly a lot of mobile game updates, TCG ads, anime ads, stuff like that. And then you'll get a couple of minutes of actual console game Pokemon news. However, I'm going to be foolishly optimistic here and do some predictions for the Pokemon Presents that's happening tomorrow. They announced it, what, 6-7 weeks ago. I think the earliest they've ever announced one of these presentations, and it's happening tomorrow at 6 a.m. I will be streaming it, so if you want to watch that, definitely stay tuned to the channel. But let's go over my predictions for this showcase. All right, so first things first, we do know that this Pokemon Presents is going to be around 24 minutes in length. That is thanks to the Korean Pokemon YouTube for revealing that a little bit early. 24 minutes for one of these, that sounds about right? Like that sounds about how they normally go. Although I was looking through just to kind of compare 24 minutes to past Pokemon Presents, I didn't realize in August of 2023, they did a 35-minute show. And if you remember, that's just the year that had Scarlet and Violet DLC and Detective Pikachu Returns. There wasn't even like a full new console game. But you know how these things go. They always do the little history lesson, then they show all the mobile stuff, then they'll tease some anime and TCG tie-in stuff, then they'll show a spin-off, they'll maybe do some classic NSO updates, and this one, they actually added the trading card game from Game Boy Color and Stadium, and then eventually you get to like the actual stuff we really care about, which is the console kind of mainline information. This time it was for Scarlet and Violet, but usually they skew on the shorter side, so this one kind of falls in the middle. A lot of these are like 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 8 minutes back in 2017 when they were still calling it Pokemon Direct. So 24 minutes is about right, maybe right in the middle there. But ultimately, it's kind of hard to really say if the length of these presentations even matters, because you never know when they're going to drop the 10-minute lore breakdown on the entire Pokemon franchise. I guess they normally save that for the Pokemon Day ones in February, but sometimes they just do it, you know? Sometimes they'll just be like, okay, here's the entire history of the series for 10 minutes, and I always enjoy seeing that stuff. But 24 minutes, that's good. I don't know if there's much we can really read into that in terms of expecting even more announcements than we would have otherwise, but it's a solid length that does leave a lot of room for there to be some new announcements, and of course updates on old games, which is where I want to start with the actual predictions here. It's kind of boring, but every time I gotta, you know, get it out of the way. We're going to get a bunch of mobile stuff. We always get all of our mobile updates in these, and currently there are more Pokemon mobile games getting updated than ever before. So, of course, we will get updates on TCG Pocket. I have fallen off that game dramatically. I haven't touched it in months, but I'm sure there will be a new expansion or something for that. Cafe Remix, Pokemon Masters EX, Pokemon Unite, Pokemon Go, Pokemon Sleep. There's a lot of mobile games. They're going to update all of them and do some sort of special events for them all. Maybe even like Smile. Sometimes they'll throw an update for that game, the brushing your teeth one. So we're going to see a lot of mobile games. I would say roughly maybe 7 minutes of this presentation would just be entirely mobile updates, which I can't say I personally care about, but it is what it is. That's how they go with these things. I will say in terms of like interesting new things, it could be time for a new mobile game. We got TCG Pocket last year. If they want to, you know, kind of start kickstarting the 30th anniversary celebrations a little early here, maybe tease something for 2026, I could see them teasing some sort of new mobile game that releases next summer, let's say, but I'm not really sure what that would be, because I feel like we already have all of our bases covered unless they want to do more lifestyle stuff for the series. But regardless, mobile information, there's going to be a lot of it. But then we get into the more juicy stuff, including Pokemon Legends ZA. This is maybe my most anticipated game for the rest of the year. It's definitely up there for sure. Legends Arceus is one of my favorite Pokemon games, so to see them continuing the Legends branding anyway is very exciting. However, I am of two minds of this game based on what we've seen. I haven't been like particularly analyzing the footage like I was for Arceus back then. However, every time we see this game, which we've seen a good bit of it at this point, right? We had it in the Pokemon Presents in February. We had it in the March Direct. It was shown a little bit in the Switch 2 Directs. We've seen a good amount of Legends ZA now, but every time we see it, I simultaneously feel that we need to see way more, but also that maybe they've already shown us their hand kind of in terms of like what the game is. I don't know if there's like that big hook that's still waiting to be revealed. I think that was probably just the nighttime battles where you rank up from Z to A. So I don't know how much there really is to say about this game, honestly. I mean, it's going to take up a good chunk of this presentation because it is their big game this year. But aside from new Mega Evolutions, which I do think we will finally see Megas in this game properly, you know, new Mega Evolutions. Aside from that, I'm not really sure what else they can do. They can do some more story teases. Maybe there's like a big like section of the map that they want to show as like the big like, okay, this is our trailer moment for this one. Maybe like underground Lumio City or something, just something like that kind of subverts expectations and makes the game feel bigger, because every time we see it, I gotta be honest, like I know it's just because it's set in Lumios and it's a big city, but everything we see kind of just looks claustrophobic to me. Whereas Arceus, you know, you're in the wilderness and you're in these big open zones. Even though that game was zone-based and this is open world, Legends EA feels like a smaller game to me because of all the buildings. So I don't know if there's any way they can circumvent that. I mean, I think that's kind of inherent with where the game is literally set, but I want to feel a sense of scale for this game. I have like no idea like how big Lumios really truly is, because everything they've shown is in like a couple of like the opening areas. So I'm really hoping we get a trailer that shows the scale of this game, hopefully subverts some expectations a little bit in terms of like mechanically what it is. You know, I'm hoping there's a little bit more to it that we haven't seen yet beyond just the nighttime battles and of course the daytime stuff. And then, yeah, I mean, Mega Evolutions, that's going to be really exciting. I believe all the Megas have basically leaked, not the designs, but the Pokemon that are getting them. I don't know how many we're going to see here, but I think we'll see a good handful, maybe 10 or so, of the new Megas that are going to be in this game, and that's going to be really cool. I mean, we haven't seen a new Pokemon design in quite a while, right? Since the Scarlet and Violet DLC came out. So Legends EA, I mean, we already know it's coming out on October 16th. Very excited to see more of it. I do think the way they normally do these presentations, there's like just some more like general community talk, and like they always talk about, okay, we're doing Pokemon Worlds in August, we're doing an event here, an event there. We did get confirmation that this game will be playable at Gamescom. I wouldn't be surprised if they mentioned that again, but then also maybe confirm it for PAX West in Seattle. That'd be pretty cool. I'll be able to play it a little bit early if that is the case, which I think it will be if it's playable at Gamescom. So Legends EA, I think that'll be maybe the biggest chunk of this presentation, but also I think that might be for our next thing, which is Pokemon Champions. This was announced back in February. It is a Pokemon battling game. It is just Pokemon battling, kind of like you would think of when you think of Pokemon Stadium or Battle Revolution. However, it's going to be kind of like the main hub, I want to say, for Pokemon battling moving forward, so that Game Freak can hopefully, you know, focus on these legend style games more if that's what they really want to do. And then the community that plays competitive Pokemon can stay on Pokemon Champions, being developed by Pokemon Works and Ilka, if I'm not mistaken. We don't have too much information on it other than what it is. We don't have a release time frame. I think they're going to do a deep dive on Pokemon Champions, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get at least a release window for it, but maybe even just a concrete date. I don't know if it's this year. It feels a little soon considering they didn't say 2025, but maybe. I mean, it's worth noting. I mean, this is a Switch 1 game. It's coming to Switch 1. Legends EA is coming to Switch 1. I think we're all in agreement Gen 10 next year, next holiday, will not be on Switch 1, so you got to get it out before then at the very least. So maybe it's closer to like summer 2026. But I think we see a lot of champions here. I think they really hype up what it means for the future of competitive Pokemon. And I think we get a concrete, at least, release window, but maybe even a date. I don't know if it would be this year, though. I mean, do they want to put it out next to Legends EA? It is so separate from that, right? It is also a mobile, which to my thing earlier about there not being a mobile game since TCG Pocket, well, we have Champions, so I kind of forgot about that coming to mobile. But I think with Worlds happening in a few weeks, they want to get ahead of this and just kind of show it off and really give us our deep dive and information and dump on it. So Pokemon Champions, it's a lock. We're going to see it. It's just a matter of how much and if we get a release date for it. But then we get into the true unknowns, the things that I'm completely just spitballing, and I really have no idea if these will actually pop up, but we have a couple of different options here. So the first thing I want to talk about, and I haven't really seen too many discussing it, which is crazy to me, is more patches for the Switch games. Now, we already got the Scarlet and Violet patch, and I guess I should say that as well. We will probably get some sort of new raid events in Scarlet and Violet. We always get those. But with how well received the patches were for Scarlet and Violet, now this would have already had to have been in development, but I wouldn't be shocked if we see a patch for a Sword and Shield or for a Legends Arceus. My only hold on that is maybe they wouldn't want to because Legends EA is so close and they don't want to take attention away from that. You know, I mean, it's coming out in what, 2.5 months, 3 months. But considering how well all of these old Pokemon games sell every quarter, we see it in Nintendo's financials, they're selling hundreds of thousands of units every time. I think it will be worthwhile for Game Freak to go back and do resolution and frame rate bumps. I want to say for Legends Arceus especially is what I want to see. I kind of want to replay that game before ZA comes out, so that's the one that ideally they would do right now, but Sword and Shield probably needs it the most. Let's go. I'm not sure how that runs on Switch 2 inherently. I know there's a lot of frame drops in that game in certain areas, but overall, I mean, it ran pretty fine. Just, you know, frame rate could be improved a little bit. BDSP certainly could use some fixing. I would like to see patches for basically every Pokemon game. That would be ideal. These are games we're all going to be playing for the next decades, right? Pokemon games are something I always go back to, so I hope we get more patches. I just don't know if now's the right time with Legends ZA coming out so soon. But let me know what you think of that in the comments down below. Do you think we will get more patches for the Pokemon games on Switch? I would love to hear what you think. I think we will get them. I just don't know if right now is the time that that's going to be, you know? I feel like this comes up every Pokemon Presents, but classic games, people are always hoping for Red, Blue, and Yellow on Switch Online or what have you. I think it is a pretty safe assumption that they are saving those games for the 30th anniversary next year. In fact, it's tricky because I don't know how they're going to handle it, right? Because you're going to want to have trading and some sort of online functionality with Pokemon Home, some sort of way to connect those things like they did with Pokemon Bank and the Virtual Console games on 3DS. I wonder if they can even figure out how to do that with Nintendo Switch Online specifically. Like, I'm sure they can, but will they though? To the point that I wouldn't be shocked if Pokemon did like their own subscription service or something. It's a little tricky because they already have a lot of spin-offs on Switch Online, but I can see a scenario where Pokemon Company is like, okay, well, instead of just putting these on Switch Online where we don't really get like that much out of it, I'm sure Nintendo would cut them a check, but like, why not do our own subscription service where you get access to all of these classic Pokemon games? That way we can have our very specific integration with Pokemon Home and the other games surrounding it and charge, I don't know, however much a year for it. I just wouldn't be shocked if the Pokemon Company does that for all like the mainline Pokemon games, and if that gets more of them on there faster, that'd be cool. But for like the core series, I do think they will save that for the 30th anniversary. And I do think we will see at least the Gen 1 games playable on Switch 1 next year in some fashion, be that NSO, be that some sort of separate purchase or Pokemon separate subscription service, something like that. I think they're saving that for the 30th anniversary. For this presentation, however, I think we are going to get something, and I think that something is Pokemon Colosseum and Gale of Darkness. Maybe not both of them at once, but I think we will see both of them. We will get one of them dropped tomorrow, I think, is a good call. It's been a couple of weeks now since Super Mario Strikers came out. There hasn't been any other NSO drops since then. So one of those two, probably Colosseum first, right? And then maybe they say, okay, Gale of Darkness is coming out in August. I think that is a smart way to do it. Build hype for Legends ZA, but also it's still far enough away from Legends ZA, right? If that comes out in August, you have about a 2-month buffer there so people can play these GameCube games and get ready for Legends ZA. I think we will see at the very least one of those GameCube games shown tomorrow and like dated, or maybe even shadow dropped. Make it available right after the presentation. I'd be all over Colosseum. I've never actually played Colosseum, so that'd be really cool. And then finally, I mean, we talk about mobile games. We talk about the games we know about, classic games. What about new stuff, right? Is it possible we actually see new games that are like for console announced here? No free-to-play BS, no mobile stuff, just actual new like $60, $70 games. That is what I really want to see. I'm tired of all the free-to-play stuff. Can we see something more substantial announced in this presentation? So first things first, Generation 10. I know a lot of people are actually expecting them to tease that here. I don't think it's as unrealistic as some people might think. I do think it is unlikely, but if they wanted to do a very small tease and say, hey, 2026, 30th anniversary, Pokemon loves their anniversaries. That's the thing. They can wait until February to get that started, but I just wouldn't be completely shocked if in this presentation they do like a very brief tease saying 2026, 30 years of Pokemon, get hyped. Maybe not even a specific like, okay, this is what Gen 10 is going to be, but just like start kind of really hyping up the anniversary next year, because I think they're going to go harder than they maybe ever have before for the 30th. And a part of that will, of course, be Generation 10 on Switch too. So if they want to tease that, especially since Legends ZA is kind of like, I know it's mainline, but like kind of more of a separate thing, I wouldn't be that shocked if they say something about it. However, I would say what is likelier is something else, even still, be that a spinoff or another remake, actually. So as for a spinoff, I don't know how likely it is they really want to continue doing the $60 retail spinoff for Pokemon, especially after how poorly Detective Pikachu did. And I feel like just interest in a lot of these subseries are waning in general. Mystery Dungeon, I think, did fine on Switch, but are we going to get another one of those? I mean, Spike Chunsoft just did their own Mystery Dungeon game at the beginning of last year, so it could be time, especially if they're just doing a remake. Could we see something like that on Switch 2 even? That'd be cool. I mean, I'd be down for it. I would prefer something different, though, be that like a new Ranger or a new Pokken Tournament even. I love Pokken Tournament, so that'd be really cool. If anything, I think it would be something unique in its entirety, just something completely new. But they have focused so much and put so much resources into their mobile pipeline. I just don't know how much interest they even have in like the traditional Pokemon spinoff that we all love. I would love if they were like, hey, here's a new Pokemon Rumble out on the eShop right now. I mean, I miss Pokemon Rumble even. That's how starved I am of Pokemon spinoff content. So that'd be cool. I don't know, man. I really hope there is, but I'm not really expecting it. And if anything, I think the likeliest like retail spinoff there would be like a Mystery Dungeon remake, because those must be low budget to make, I imagine. But other than that, I'm not really sure what else. And then finally, I just have to say it every time, Black and White remake or some sort of remake, be that, you know, Gold and Silver, Gold, Soul Silver, Black and White, whatever it would be next. I think there is always a chance. I think there is always a chance that they just surprise announce one and release it very quickly, because Ilka is huge. And Ilka, of course, they do more than just Pokemon, but Pokemon Company and them have gotten more and more in bed together. Of course, they're doing Champions, but it's weird to me that you have this team do BDSP, which of course wasn't received the best overall, but I mean, it's the best-selling Pokemon remake. Why would you not have that team do another Pokemon remake? It doesn't really make sense. So with how long it's been since then, I think it is totally within the realm of possibility that we get this Pokemon Presents and they announce a remake. Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Black and White, whatever it would be. I don't really care what it would be. I mean, Black and White would be preferable. And they say, hey, it's coming out in February or March. I will always think that's possible every time we get a Pokemon Presents, because I will never forget what they did in 2021 and 2022 with BDSP. They sandwiched Legends Arceus right in the middle, and then they released Generation 9 Scarlet and Violet the following November, all within a 12, 13-month period. I'm never going to forget that. I think it is totally possible, given that we just had a 3-year gap between Pokemon games, that they have like a dam, basically, that can burst now. Now, maybe you would take those Ilka development resources and just help Game Freak on Gen 10. I think that is also possible here, but I think it would be likelier in terms of, you know, Pokemon Company being the company that it is, and they're always greedy, and they, you know, want to make as much money and milk it as much as possible. Legends Arceus in October, a remake of some kind in, like, we'll say February, March, right? March would be perfect, actually, for Black and White, because that game came out in, at least in America, in March, I want to say. Maybe it was late February, but in that time frame. And then later, next holiday, we get Gen 10. It is the 30th anniversary. I think they are going to go hard. And I don't think that Gen 10 is the only, like, premium thing we are going to see from this company next year. I could be wrong. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm going to keep coping for more remakes always. I'm always wanting more remakes of these games, but let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And that is going to do it for this predictions video. I would love to hear what you all want to see in this presentation down below. It's always hard to predict these because they're almost always disappointing, but every once in a while, they have like a big announcement. It's like, whoa, okay. Like I remember when Legends Arceus was announced, I think it leaked like right before, but at the time we were really just focused on BDSP being announced. We were like, okay, Gen 4 remakes, it's time for that. And then Legends Arceus just kind of popped up. So maybe they'll save the bigger announcements for February 2026 because that is the 30th anniversary. But I don't know. I feel like there's a good chance we see at least one exciting new thing in the presentation tomorrow. Once again, reminder, I will be streaming it, so if you want to watch it live with me, you can do that. But until next time, folks, peace.